Okay, are we good? We're straight. We're in the proper orientation here. I just want to make sure that we're not crooked or sideways. I think we're on. Okay, thanks for joining us for our latest SilviaFindings live stream show thing. We're going to be continuing this week with our online video catalog of all of our products. I'll be talking about them as we go. I'm going to try to keep it, again, under an hour. I know last week I said that it ended up being like almost 90 minutes, but I think I think I'm better now. We'll just probably just do fewer products, or some of the products that we're doing. There's a lot of the same thing, but just different sizes of them, so that should be quicker. Before we get started, thanks for joining us. We do this every week, every Wednesday morning, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, and you can extrapolate to wherever you are around the world. If you're, I see there's one person here. I'm probably sure that's one of the staff. It's probably Nelson. Is that you, Nelson? Are you watching this at the same time? Yeah. No. Or Marble, maybe somebody. Yeah, or Lise. Hi, Lise. Assuming that's you or somebody. Okay, so I'm going to hang on. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. Maybe I'll wait until one or two other people join on, or a couple of other people. Yeah, there's another person joined. Let me just talk a little bit because, whatever, it's not totally important, but the state of postage, shipping, it's deteriorating a bit everywhere in the world, but because when you have a conjunction of a global pandemic with the holiday season and everybody's staying home as much as they can, and quarantining when they have to, and just generally not being out and about shopping. Online shopping is becoming, huge. So delivery volumes are increasing exponentially. And when you have postal services all over the world, Canada Post, I know, is suffering pretty badly, where a lot of the actual employees are having to quarantine, and there's backlogs. And then when backlogs happen, sometimes, and it's an insidious problem that I know that they don't, when you have a big bin of letters or parcels or things that get, thrown in, to be sorted or whatever, when there's a backlog, when they start clearing out the backlog, the ones on the top of the bin are the ones that are going to get delivered first. So it's kind of like, last in, first out kind of thing. Hopefully, it won't be so bad. But I do know that Canada Post specifically are saying even like local deliveries, they're looking at like 6 days or something, which we just mailed something to a customer in New Westminster, which, if you're not from here, is maybe a 10-minute drive from here. And I could have walked it there faster, clearly. But anyway, neither here nor there. Shipping out of the province, if you're watching from within Canada, they're saying a week to 10 days. If you're shipping across the country to the other side of the country, to the East Coast, and they're saying 2 weeks. I don't know. It is what it is. Shipping into Europe right now, our shipping partners are telling us up to 75 days. It's madness. Of course, there's always the option to upgrade to courier service. We use DHL. They offered us a great rate, which we pass along to you, obviously. And shipping into Europe is 2 or 3 days. Now, there's some issues where, yes, if you ship it via post and it's under a certain amount of money, I think, whatever it is, I'm not sure what the amount is. I think it's different for different countries. But I know if we're shipping into the United States and it's under $800 US, it can fly basically under the radar and won't go through customs, and will just go into the postal service and get delivered, and no muss, no fuss. If we ship through DHL, they're required, they have to clear everything through customs. So if we're shipping something to the States, even though you'll pay zero in duties or taxes, you will end up paying their clearance fee, which is, I think, is $12 or $14, kind of thing. So just beware of that. We had an issue recently with a customer in France where the duties and taxes were zero, but there was that, I think it was 14 euros. It was their charge to clear through customs. But France arbitrarily added 20% just import fee, because if it comes from another country, we must add 20% to the cost of that thing. So, beware. You should look at we're not up on all of the regulations into every country. I know that some are more problematic than others. And for what it's worth, we're still not going to ship to Nigeria. So I don't care if you are a prince, sir. We're not shipping to you. Also, if you share this video, that was a joke, by the way. I hope there's no Nigerians that are going to be really angry at me, sort of thing. The Nigerian prince email thing. We get those once in a while. People wanting to use stolen credit cards to send me stuff. If you share this video, let us know, and we'll know. And we'll send you one of these free polishing cloths. Well, they're not free. It'll be free for you if you share it. So, go ahead, do that. Share that cloth. I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff today. Bunch of pendants. Well, it's obviously all pendants. At this point, we're still at the pendants part of the catalog. But I want to make a point about a couple of things, and I'll probably make this point again a little bit later in the video if more people, show up. Anything that I'm showing you, if you love it, especially some of our pendants are like one-of-a-kind things, like I know you can't see this, and you'll see this close up later. So something like this, one-of-a-kind, gorgeous with all these, lovely scroll work and thing. If you look at that and you think, God, that's gorgeous, but my marquise stone won't fit that, it won't, I think, no problem. Just let us know. We'll get the dimensions of your stone, and we can do custom work. We do so much custom work, and we're just doing more and more. And the more we can do it, the more custom work we do. Eventually, Marble's going to have to buy me a 3D scanner. So, and that'll make it way easier and way faster. But for now, we're doing great with custom work. We can reconfigure anything to fit any size stone that you have. So even though the ones that I'm showing you are all prefabricated, precast, whatever, to be designed for certain dimensions, if there are dimensions that you have of a stone that we don't carry, let us know. We can make it. We can do it. We own the factory. Never a problem. What else? I'm going to show you, as I'm showing you the products, there's two prices. There's a retail price and a wholesale price. The retail price is just the price if you buy it. The wholesale price is the price you'll pay if you spend up to $150 Canadian at the wholesale level. So if there's a product that's $10 wholesale and $15 retail, if you bought 10 of those products, you would reach $150 retail, but only $100 wholesale. You'd have to buy 15 of the product to reach $150 wholesale, if that makes sense. I think it makes sense. And you don't have to spend $150 all on one item. It could be, spread out over all the products of your order, which is not difficult to do at all. Okay, I'm already 10 minutes in. I haven't done anything. Okay, let's switch to the other view here. That's this. Oh, first one is, let me just show you this. It's we're going to do some marquise settings. Can't even barely see that one because it's so small, right? So marquise settings are just for that shape, stone, marquise shape stone, cat's eyes shape, whatever you want to call it. And there's a couple different considerations for these kinds of stones, setting them. this kind of where the prongs are a little bit down off to the side, right? And it's 4 separate prongs. I much prefer this, kind of configuration. I find it's the easiest to set. Easiest to set, and the least likely to cause damage to your stone if you do it wrong, sort of thing, right? There's another kind like this one. I don't know if you can see that, where the double prongs, right? Where it's the prongs on the end are just 2 little prongs. They're right at the tip, right? Those are also amazing for I either think if your stone is a little has a real pointy end or a little bit rounded end, those work great. Let me find one that here's one where it has like what's called a chevron on the end. And you can't really see very well maybe on the video, but there's a little tiny sort of V-shaped prong at the end that's scooped out on the inside. It's in the shape of a chevron, which is why it's called a chevron prong. For these kind of prongs, the stone has to have a very pointy end, and the very pointy end goes into that chevron and then pushes closed. And ideally, you can do that without, breaking the tip of the stone off, which is not super hard, but it's tricky if you're not used to doing it here, sort of thing. So the first item that I'm going to show you is MTP 808 for a 2x4mm marquise stone, little tiny bitty one. The retail price is $462 and the wholesale price is $307. This is that 4 individual prongs, very easy to set, very simple. It's just got a loop on the top of that, so you can connect that as a dangle to whatever you want. Here's that same item, only in a 3x5mm MTP 807. Retail price is $508 and the wholesale price is $338. Right, that same thing. Got a little bit bigger one in a little different dimension, still 3mm wide but 6mm long. MTP 806 with a retail price of $517 and a wholesale price of $345. And again, this just has a loop in the top, right? It's got a pretty deep basket, so all of these things, prong shapes, or what should I say? What am I trying to say? Cut stones or cabochons, either will work in those. Thing that work very well. Here's a little bit bigger one, MTP 805 for a 4x8mm stone. We got retail price is $619 and the wholesale price is $464. And this one has a bail attached, right? And it's got that same prong, 4-prong orientation, not the double prongs at the tips or the chevrons, but 4 separate prongs, which again I think is way easier to set with. Oh, here, this one I've actually got I had a stone that fit that, so I put that in there. A little moonstone. I don't know if you could see that. It's kind of cute. That's for a 5x10mm stone, MTP 804. Retail price $840. Wholesale price is $525. This is again soldered loop, very standard bail, classic, very simple. Cabochons or cut stones work great in those either way. Although the seats are designed on all these things for cut stones, unless it's a super deep pavilion. We've got that stabilizing plate down in the back of that, so that the piece doesn't get doesn't shift when you're pushing the prongs in. Although if you have a really super deep pavilion, I would not be uncomfortable at all sawing out a piece of that to make that to make your stone fit if you have a super deep pavilion on there. MTP 803 for a 6x12mm marquise stone. Retail price $845. Wholesale price is $563. Now we're getting a little bit bigger ones here, and these have a little bit of a different configuration. This has got that the split bail. I call it, I don't know, butterfly ear bail, or rabbit ear bail, butterflies. MTP 802 is your code. 6x13 millimeter is the size of the marquise stone that will fit in there. Cabochons or cut stones either work great. Again, it's got that beveled seat, so it's designed for cut stones, but a cabochon will fit in there great, as long as it's not super thick cabochon. Anyway, $10.53 is the retail price, and $7.02 is the wholesale price. Here's a little bit bigger one. MTP 801 for a 7x14 millimeter marquise stone. Retail price $12.40, wholesale price $8.27, and I've got one in there. Oh, it's not right. I didn't set any of these. I just kind of put them in there, just so you can see what it looks like, right, when it's done. Gorgeous. Got a little piece of lapis in there. Here's a little bit bigger version of that. For 9x18 millimeter stone, MTP $7.99 with a retail price of $18.67 and a wholesale price of $11.10. And here, skip the order. MTP 800 8x16, so same width, a little bit shorter. And you notice just, you can keep more or less the same width, but just by adjusting the length, how much different the shape of that thing is. And that's the trickiest thing about marquise stones, is that there's so many variations. That getting one that fits, we have lots, but we don't have everyone. MTP 800 8x16 millimeter stone shape. $13.34 is your retail price. $8.89 is your wholesale price. Again, the nice deep basket for a cabochon or a cut stone. Here's one, the same size, 8x16 millimeter, MTP 284, retail price of $21.33, and the wholesale price of $13.70. It's got that split bail again, that the rabbit ear bail. But the thing I want to draw your attention to are the prongs on the ends. This is a double prong thing. It's kind of like a chevron that's been split open, right? The top of it's been cut off. And this is a way, it's just as secure as a chevron, but it's way less chance of cracking the tips or breaking the tips off your very pointy marquise stones. So very simple to set, very easy to set, and it looks really good too. So here's another one. For a 10x20 millimeter marquise shaped stone, MTP $7.98, $18.67 is the retail price, $12.45 is the wholesale price. And again, all those four separate prongs, super simple, it's very easy to set. Cabochon or cut stone will fit in there either way. We've got this lovely, gorgeous, a little more decorative one with all these curly cues, little scrolly things around the outside. We've got some cubic zirconia down here, one little one down at the bottom, a little bit bigger one up at the top. It's got the double prongs again, so it's kind of a hybrid between the last two that I showed you. This is MTP 1136. Retail price $13.81 and the wholesale price is $8.63. And this one has an incorporated bail, or if you can see that, right? So the chain goes through the thing right under the cubic zirconia at the top. Very lovely. Here's another more decorative one, right? A little for a smaller 5x10 millimeter stone. Oh, you know what? I had one that sort of fit. Anyway, I could put that in there. MTP 558, retail price is $17.21 and the wholesale price is $10.75. And this has got some cubic zirconias around the outside, and it's got the two chevron prongs. I don't know if you can see those there, right? again, super secure once it's set. Probably cut stones would work better in this than a cabochon, unless the cabochon had very pointy tips. If it's really pointy tips, it's great. If they're kind of curved, a little bit less secure, but it's gorgeous. So this one is definitely a glue-on, right? Whenever you see that flat seat there with the dots in there, those dots are, I know they look decorative, but they're not meant for decoration. They're meant to help the two-part epoxy adhere to the surface of the stone to give it some rough surface to grab onto. So this is for an 8 by 19 millimeter pear-shaped stone, MTP 285, with a retail price of $17.20 and the wholesale price of $10.75. And this has got a separate bail with some granulation, kind of work on there. This has got some granulation in the top and the bottom with a little cubic zirconia in the bottom, right? And this you get the top is I don't know if you can see underneath here up the top. You probably can't see very well on the camera, but it's carved out a little bit, so the very tip of your marquee stone would fit inside there. Probably better for a little bit rounded points at the top and the bottom. If they're very pointy, they may not sit well in there. And this obviously is for a cabochon, not for a cut stone. You couldn't put a cut stone in there. I mean, you probably could, but it would look dumb. You could try it. Here's got a couple pear-shaped items here. MTP 795 for a 6 by 8 millimeter pair. Retail price is $7.28. Wholesale price is $4.85. And that's just a simple, basket. I like, again, pairs, same with the marquees, the ones at the top, the tips. If they're spread out this way, I find them much easier to set, especially if you're a beginner. When there's chevrons or the single prong at the top, it's not super hard, but it's tricky to do it, especially if you have a very pointy stone. Tricky to do it without breaking the tip off the stone. Here's a little bit bigger one. No, smaller one. 5 by 7 millimeter pear shape. MTP 796 with a retail price of $6.76 and a wholesale price of $4.51. Then I've got a couple other random pieces here. MTP 600 for a 13 by 18 millimeter oval cabochon. Probably would fit best in here. You could definitely put a cut stone in there for sure. Retail price is $34.58 and the wholesale price is $24.70. This is a big hefty one. A lot of silver. It's got those lovely scroll work designs in there. A separate bail, soldered bail, lupin bail on the top, and it's got some pretty good length prongs. These are great if you have a real deep, thick cabochon that doesn't have a taper all the way from the bottom, which is my biggest pet peeve with lapidaries, not seeming to care how much trouble the jeweler is going to have to set the stones that they're cutting. That just makes it easy. MTP 400B, like boy, 12 by 16 millimeter oval. Retail price is $21.79 and the wholesale price is $14.53. And oh crap, this one's broken. Looks like somebody broke this. Well, I promise you they don't all look like that. Here's one out of the that's pretty embarrassing. I've got one in a package here. I'm just gonna open this. Right, so here's that, and that's probably just from because we ship these trays all over the place, and when they're sitting in the box like this, the other trays can push down on them and make them less insecure. Anyway, So that's that. MTP400B for a 12 by 16 millimeter oval stone. Retail price $21.79, and the wholesale price is $14.53. And that's just lovely. I don't know, lotus bud maybe design. I don't know, some kind of cool, thing. Here's the next one, MTP 917 for a 6 by 8 millimeter stone, oval, cabochon or cut stone. Either will work great. Retail price is $12.94, and the wholesale price is $8.62. It's got a lovely soldered loop and bail, huge bail on there. It's got a pretty deep basket, right? So again, awesome for cabochons or cut stones. When you're setting this one, just be careful, just be mindful that you're supporting the back, because if you put your stone in there and you just push down on this, this center piece that holds the seat is connected, it's not soldered, but it's connected only in 2 points up at the tops and the bottoms of that thing, and you don't want that piece to shift. But if it does, you could probably push it back. Again, metal being what it is, if you bend it more than one time too many, it'll break. So don't break it. I don't know if I said the details, but I'll give them again. MTP 917 for a 6 by 8 millimeter oval stone. Retail price $12.94, and wholesale price $8.62. And my next pendant here is MTP 103 for an 8 by 10 millimeter stone. Retail price is $12.75. Wholesale price is $8.93. And this one, again, awesome for cabochon. Actually, have a cabochon I think will fit in there. Yes. Right? Gorgeous. It's not centered in there, but you get the idea. So lovely silver work at the top with some dots here. These have awesome prongs, right? So it doesn't matter how thick your stone is, you can definitely get that to work. Probably for this stone, because this is not a particularly thick cabochon, I might trim those down a little bit, those prongs down. Which again, I'm going to do this as a how-to, I think, one of these days. One of these upcoming live streams will have that. Here's the next one, MTP 624 for a 10 by 14 millimeter cabochon. Retail price $17.58, wholesale price $12.48. And this, I think I have a stone. Does that fit? It does. So, oh, maybe it doesn't. It's a pretty thick cab. Well, it's not going to stay in there, but you get the idea, right? With that row of cubic zirconias around the stone, I think just lovely, just really lovely. Here's another one, another kind of lotus flower motif thing for MTP 428 for a 12 by 15 millimeter stone. Retail price is $22.69, and the wholesale price is $15.12. This has a row of cubic zirconias around the bottom. I don't have a stone big enough for that sort of thing, but you can maybe get an idea what it would look like with a bigger stone in there. You wouldn't see it around the outside. That's a much tinier stone, but it kind of gives you a little bit of an impression of what that would look like in the real world with a real stone in it, with your stone in it. MTP 917B, like boy, which is basically the same as this 917, except this one has cubic zirconias, set into the bottom and in the top of this inside piece and into the bail. Very lovely. For again 6 by 8 stone. Cabochon, cut stone would work in here. Either of those will work, although the seat is designed for a cut stone. Cabochon would definitely work. Retail price is $16.06, and the wholesale price is $10.04. I'm just moving to another tray. I've got this MTP, we've got a cage here, MTP 250 with a retail price of $14.52 and a wholesale price of $9.06. And I've got one here that I pulled open just to show you how they work. There's a hinge in the bottom, right? And then the top, the bail, there's like 3 sections of the bail. The inside piece, right? Whoops, pulls open. And then when you close it, the one piece goes inside the other two, and then when you string a chain through there, that's what, you know, locks it closed. So that just pulls open. You put your pearl or whatever, your bead or your keepsake of, we happen to have a bead here, a pearl bead to put in there, right? And that just hangs like that. Lovely. So that, again, that's MTP 250, a retail price $14.52 and a wholesale price of $9.06. There's a little bit, couple of different variations of these. I don't know, we've got a lot of these in another tray somewhere to show you. But we'll just go through here. MTP 025, retail price of $14.04 and a wholesale price of $9.36. And that's just kind of a lovely spirally thing for an oval piece, I guess. Would work best in here. Kind of a maybe a Baroque pearl in there or something. Piece of sea glass, whatever. MTP 960, which is basically a bigger version of the first one I showed you. Retail price of $17.06 and a wholesale price of $10.66. We got this MTP 024. For a retail price of $17.88 and a wholesale price of $11.91, and that's kind of like I don't know, a teardrop, inverted teardrop, pointy in the bottom. I don't know. You put whatever you want in there. Once you buy them, it's yours. You can do whatever you want. MTP 940, lovely filigree, you know, work in there. You know, kind of thing. So $25.16 is your retail price. $16.77 is the wholesale price. Again, 2 sides there, pretty wide, pretty big. You could put some awesome, although I think a darker stone would work better than that. Or maybe not. Maybe a nice light pearl definitely show through there. Anyway, we've got a couple of blanks here. I call these resin blanks, although you can use them for whatever. Although I have a lot of people are using these for that, you know, cremation or commemorative jewelry, whatever you call that, where you mix up somebody's ashes or breast milk with some resin, and then you know, can pour it into here. I've seen these used where you cut a picture and you glue a picture to the inside of this piece, and then you fill it with clear resin. And it makes, you know, the resin makes a little bit of a dome. Surface tension pulls the resin into a little dome on the top until it cures, and then it ends up kind of magnifying the inside. Very cool. But you can do this with you know, whatever you want. You know, it is sterling silver, so you could definitely, well, you would have to, there's a trick for preparing sterling silver for, what's the word I'm thinking? Like cloisonne, enamel, right? That's the word, for enamel. You can definitely use that for enamel. You'd have to pickle it a couple times first, though, to get all the copper out of the surface, so you'd only left with fine silver on the surface, which enamel adheres best to. Anyway, this is a triangle one with you know, I don't know, pretty shallow piece, maybe a millimeter and a half is the wall there. MTP 209 for a 21 by 23 millimeter triangle. Retail price is $22.43. And a wholesale price is $13.46. You can definitely, if you're a lapidary, you can definitely cut a stone, you know, to glue into there. If you've done any intarsia work, you know, you're all set. You have the skills to do it. Which I think that would also look great if it was just a stone in there. We've got a couple of other shapes. Here's a square with, again, the last one and this one, they just have a loop in the top. Again, this is for a 16 by 16 millimeter square, MTP 206, with a retail price of $19.92 and a wholesale price of $12.44. Next one is a rectangle MTP 205 for 18 by 24 millimeter. No, 16. Yes, it says 16 by 24 millimeter rectangle. Retail price $32.90, wholesale price of $20.57. Then we have some other pendants here. This one has a bail attached, right? Nice big wide bail. MTP 208 for a 15 by 15 millimeter square. Which I guess it wouldn't be a square if it wasn't 15 by 15, right? So I guess 15 millimeter square is the best way to say this. Retail price is $26.26, and the wholesale price is $16.41. Next item is this MTP 207 for a 12 millimeter square. This again has a lovely huge bail on there. Retail price $15.69 and the wholesale price of $9.82. And again, these pieces are great for intarsia work. You can use these as a frame, or just a single stone. If you're not familiar with intarsia, or you can use it for enamel if you prep the inside by pickling it a couple times. To bring all the fine silver to the surface. You're not really bringing fine silver to the surface. You're depleting the copper from the sterling to leave fine silver on the surface. But anyway, neither here nor there. You don't need to know the chemistry. You can use it for resin. I've seen it used for so many different things. Anyway, very versatile pieces. Here's a pendant for square. Cabochon again. It's got that seat, the big wide square seat with the dots for gluing. This also has prongs in the edges, so even if you don't glue the piece onto there, if you have very pointy corners on your squares, the corner prongs are scooped out a little bit, as they are in most kind of chevrons, that you can push those down onto the corners and that'll hold it in place. Cut stone, boy, it would have to be a very bizarre shaped pavilion to be able to fit that in there and get the tips of actually, I'm going to strike that. There's no way, there's no cut stone in the world you'd be able to fit in that. That's for a cabochon, through and through, 100%. Soldered loop and bail, MTP 280 for an 11 millimeter square cabochon. Retail price is $15.11, and wholesale price is $10.24. Now we've got a series of square pendants, and I should show you one of the bigger ones first, right, just to give you a little preamble of this, right? So these have the not all of them, the first one or two, when they're so tiny they just have a loop, but these have that split bail at the top, that rabbit ear bail, and it's got that stabilizing plate on the back, right? That's there. That again, if you have a really super deep pavilion, most of them should fit in here, should clear that. But if you have one that has a super deep pavilion, I would not be concerned at all if you sawed out or filed out some of the back of that thing. Now, there might be an issue if you worry about having a hallmark that the 925 part of the hallmark is right up against the inside of that. So if you're filing that, you're going to lose some of that hallmark. But, if you're just wanting it to fit for you, it's Sterling. We know it's Sterling. I don't care. These have the prongs on the corners. So ideally, these are cushion cut stones that don't have very pointy corners, right? Which is what those are for. Ideally, these are for cut stones. You could put a cab in there. My problem with cabochons on these kind of settings is that there's nothing, underneath to stabilize the stone in place. And if you're just pushing the prongs onto the stone, if it's a rounded cabochon, it's not impossible for the stone to slip out, slip sideways and then fall out. So ideally for cut stones, you could possibly get away with doing a cabochon in there. And I've done plenty of cabs in there, and you know, usually they're fine. It's just if the corner is really, really, really rounded, as they normally are in these kind of cushion cut settings, right? Cushion cuts are stones like, I actually have one here, a tiny one, right, where the edges are slightly rounded, right? So it's not like I'll show you that a little bit better. Nice tight square. Anyway, MTP 8, let me go back and start from the beginning. The smallest we've got of that is for 3mm square setting, and this just has a loop in the top. Again, those 4 prongs. Our retail price is $471, and the wholesale price is $313. The SKU MTP 836. The next one up is a 4mm version of that. Right, again, this one just has a loop. MTP 835. Retail price $508. Wholesale price is $338. We've got a 6mm version of that. This one has that split bail, right? They're getting bigger, so that rabbit ear bail. MTP 834 for a 6mm square cushion cut stone. Retail price $716. $477 is the wholesale price. I did this wrong. The next one up is for an 8mm stone, MTP 833. Here, I've got one. When I didn't set it, but I put the stone in there. You get an idea what that would look like if the stone were in there, right? It's so cute, gorgeous, right? Very classic, very showing off the stone, not so much the pendant. MTP 833 with a retail price of $936 and a wholesale price of $624. Getting bigger now. Here's a 10mm one, MTP 832, retail price of $1348 and a wholesale price of $898. And if anybody has any questions as I'm going through here, just throw them up there in the chat. I'll read them out. Hi Heather, I see you're watching. I don't know if you're still watching. You were here for a bit. MTP 831, 12mm cushion cut stone. Retail price $1460. Wholesale price of $974. And they've got a 13mm version of that. MTP 830. Retail price $1764. Wholesale price of $1177. Got a 14mm version of that. MTP 829 for retail price is $19.94 and a wholesale price $13.29. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to move to this. Here's a square, right? So this is not for a cushion cut, but for an actual square cut. Which is just a little bit different. Maybe the outside edges are not curved; they're straight and they're flat. This has the nice deep prongs. It's got some gouges. I don't know if you can see that. You can kind of see it. That's how deep they are. You can actually see it on camera from a camera phone. Anyway, so pointy edges or pointy corners ideally is perfect on that. That pushes those in and holds those close. The seat is, I think this is the most ingenious kind of, seat and back of this. The stabilizing square on the back, even if you have a super deep pavilion, that will clear it, a little bit easier than something like this might, anyway. So anyway, MTP 254 for a 9mm square cut stone. Cut stone or cabochon, either will work. Pointy corners ideally on these. If they're beveled corners, They'll also work because beveled corners are pretty secure. If they're kind of rounded corners, if it's a cut stone, go ahead, throw it in there. If it's a cab, I'd be a little more reticent to put that in there because less to hold on to, less surface area to hold it and to set it in place. It's got a nice deep basket in there, so it's great for cut stones. MTP 254 for a 9mm square. Retail price $14.70, wholesale price $8.83. We've got that identical one in a 7mm stone. MTP 253, retail price is $10.10, and the wholesale price is $6.06. And the smallest version of that we have is that for a 5mm square cut stone. MTP 252 with a retail price of $7.49 and a wholesale price of $4.50. Right. And I guess this was out of sequence. Here's one of those other cushion cut ones. I guess this is the biggest one. I should rearrange this tray. 18mm cushion cut stone, or a cut stone or cabochon, either will work. Cut stone is probably better in this though. MTP 827, a retail price $26.73, and the wholesale price is $17.81. Okay, we've got some rectangles now coming up. MTP 380 for an 8x10 rectangular cut stone or cab. Retail price $10.15, wholesale price $6.60. Again, this got a nice deep basket, or not super deep, but a good sized basket. So a cut stone would work in there. Cabochon would definitely work, even though the seat is designed for that. The corner prongs are scooped out, so if you have a very pointy corners, they would work. Although I think for this kind of one, beveled corners are best for that sort of setting. Anyway, I've got another one. Actually, I'll put a stone in there just so you can see what it looks like, right? MTP 378 for a 10x14mm stone. The retail price is $14.59 and the wholesale price is $9.39. And even though this is a cabochon and not a cut stone, I would not be concerned about setting this in there at all, because the corners of the stone are pointy, right? They're not rounded corners. Those are nice pointy corners, and they fit inside those the gouges and the prongs perfectly. So when you push those prongs on to the stone, that'll set those in place forever. A little bit bigger version of that for a 13x18mm square or rectangular stone, MTP 377 with a retail price of $16.98 and a wholesale price of $11.12. And there's again a little bit bigger version of that. MTP 1422, MTP 283B is the SKU for a 14x22mm rectangle cut stone or cabochon. Again, you can actually see that the corners, these are specifically designed for beveled corners. Rounded corners would also kind of work a little bit. Pointy corners might be tricky on this one because the prongs are gouged out a little bit. Probably anything would work. Retail price $28.44 and the wholesale price is $17.77. Our next one is a tiny bitty one, and again, let me just show one of the bigger ones of this. I'll just go ahead and do it. It's just a regular classic square basket, rectangular basket pendant. This just has a loop in the top. It doesn't have a bail on it. MTP 846 for a 3x5mm rectangle. Retail price $4.89. Wholesale price is $3.26. You can go ahead and dangle that from whatever you want. Here's one for a 9x11mm rectangle. MTP 840 with a retail price of $12.12 and a wholesale price of $8.09. Again, Good, nice deep basket. Got that split bail at the top, that rabbit ear bail. Pointy corners, rounded corners, anything will work in that. Here's one, MTP 849 for a 10 by 14 millimeter rectangular stone. Retail price $10.91, wholesale price $7.27. Slightly beveled corners I think would be perfect for this. Although you could, cabochon definitely would work. Cut stones are what it's designed for. You know, the sizes are kind of all mixed up here because they're different styles. We have some with the loop and the bail, other ones with the with the split bail, right? So if it seems like we're kind of going all over the place, there is a method to the madness. MTP 843 for a 6 by 8 millimeter rectangular stone. $8.01 is your retail price. $6.30 or $5.33 is your wholesale price. MTP 850 for a 7 by 10 millimeter rectangle. $9.36 is retail price. $5.85 is the wholesale price. Again, soldered loop and bail on that one. Got a little bit bigger version of that same thing for an 8 by 10 millimeter stone this time. MTP 851. Retail price $8.02. Wholesale price $5.43. Here's one of the same size, but instead of that soldered loop and bail like this has got that split eared or split rabbit ear bail, whatever you want to call it. 8 by 10 millimeter stone, again, MTP 841. Retail price $10.35. Wholesale price is $6.89. And we've got this MTP 379 for a 10 by 12 millimeter rectangle. Retail price is $12.86. Wholesale price is $8.24. Here's one MTP 839 for a 12 by 14 millimeter rectangle. Retail price is $16.15. Wholesale price is $10.76. A little bit bigger one. Nice big open basket. Great architecture for a cut stone. Cabochon will also fit in there. Beveled corners would be ideal for this again, but you could probably get away with slightly rounded corners. MTP 838 for a 16 by 22 millimeter square. $23.45 is your retail price. $15.63 is your wholesale price. Same thing, just a little bit bigger for an 18 by 25 millimeter rectangle. $8.37 is your whole retail price. MTP 837 is the SKU. $27.85 is the retail price, and $18.56 is the wholesale price. I'm getting close to an hour. I can do it. MTP 844 for a 5 by 7 millimeter rectangle. Retail price is $6.50. Wholesale price is $4.33. This next one, MTP 842 for a 7 by 9 millimeter stone. Retail price is $9.83. Wholesale price is $6.55. Again, nice deep basket. Got that split rabbit ear bail. Boy, I would put anything in there. Cabochon, cut stone, any kind of corners, you name it, they all work. Here's one, a little bit bigger one, 1420 by 22 millimeter rectangle, MTP 283. The retail price is $19.72 and the wholesale price is $13.26. Again, ideally, you could put beveled corners in there, would work good. You know, the prongs are slightly scooped out, so pointy corners would work. Just about anything would work in there, really, to be honest. It's just a terrific piece. Next one. We got this MTP 848 for 11 by 15 millimeter. You know what? I think I have a stone that will fit in there. Retail price $12.73 and the wholesale price is $8.49. And here's a cab that might. Oh, it's a little bit small, but maybe you get an idea what it looks like with a stone in there, right? That's a hair smaller than it would be. I know it. I never like seeing the edge of the seat around the outside of this stone, but that's just me. I'm very picky about that stuff. MTP 847 for a 12 by 18 millimeter cut stone or cab. Retail price is $13.52 and the wholesale price is $9.02. One. MTP 376 15 by 20 millimeter rectangle. Retail price is $20.01 and the wholesale price is $13.05. Here's one, MTP 726 for a 12 millimeter square cabochon cut stone. It's got a basket setting, not very deep. The seat is not really, it's kind of a hybrid, right? It's just square. So cabochon or cut stone either would work great in there. It's got a lovely bale with a great big cubic zirconia in the top of that. Lots of very nice. MTP 726 again for a 12 millimeter rectangular stone. Retail price $12.52 and the wholesale price is $7.83. And this is kind of out of sequence, but another tiny one just with a loop in the top for a 4 by 6 millimeter rectangular cut stone or cab. MTP 845, retail price $5.27, and the wholesale price is $3.51. And the last one in this tray is MTP 931 for a 12 by 17 millimeter. This would have to be a cabochon. Retail price $14.86, wholesale price is $9.91. And again, this has that a bezel around the outside, maybe millimeter and a half, maybe almost 2 millimeters. So it's pretty deep. I think that if you covered the back with some really good tape, like electrical tape or gaffer's tape, maybe duct tape. Duct tape might be a little bit too over the top. But then you could, fill that with resin, right? Or cut a stone to put in there, right? 12 by 17. That's your cut stone. Now, that's it for all of the trays that we had scheduled for today, and then 3 trays again. I knew that it would be a little bit faster because we did, a lot of them are the same-ish items with just different sizes. So there wasn't a lot of blah, blah, blah talking about how the one works versus the other. I did talk about the prongs, the different kinds of prongs for marquee settings and why I like ones better than the others. Again, things like marquees, stones, and pears and rectangles, it seems like no matter how many different sizes we have, there's always somebody who will bring up a stone at a show and say, hey, do you have something that works, exactly for this? And it's impossible to carry every permutation of X by Y, for a rectangle or a pear. Pears are also really tricky because you might have, you would have to have like every length for every width. Like if you had an 8 millimeter width, you'd need to have a setting for 8 millimeter wide by 10 millimeter long, by 12 millimeter long, by 13 millimeter. It would just get longer and thinner, like a teardrop, right? And we do our best to carry the ones that are most popular, that are, because we are kind of broadcasting here. But if you have a stone that you've cut or that you've bought that you need a pendant and you like any of our normal pendants, or even if you want to design your own, you have a drawing in your mind, even if your drawing is terrible like mine, my illustrations are horrible, but the people who do the designing work they do the 3D CAD drawing are awesome. They're really good at extrapolating from my terrible drawings, to make something that actually looks good. Which I'm really proficient in fabrication. So if I was making the sample myself, I would just make it out of pieces of metal and just solder pieces together and do that. Casting, it takes another skill set to be able to properly design in the 3D world the piece before you before you make it. Having said all that, we do tons of custom work, and if you have anything that's even remotely custom, let us know. We can definitely do it, and I promise it'll be hundreds of dollars cheaper than it would be if you walked into a jewelry store and said, hey, can you make me a pendant for this stone? Because they're gonna send it to their jeweler, their bench jeweler, who will carve a wax version of that, and it'll take many hours to do the wax blank of it, and then they'll submit it to you for approval, and then you'll say yes or no, and then when you do that, then they'll take that and then they'll cast one, and that's it. We do kind of a similar thing, although we don't spend all those hours carving out the wax blank. We do the 3D CAD version, and then we 3D print that out of resin, and then once it's been approved, we use that to cast with, that 3D print. So it's very simple for us to do one-offs, and it's not super expensive for sterling silver pieces that are under 5 grams. Right now the price is $65 Canadian. If it's more complicated, if it's more time, if it's heavier than that, then we'll quote a price, after the fact. You might have to pay a little bit more if it's heavier. Although most of the settings even most of the ones I showed you today, there wasn't anything that was nearly 5 grams. Maybe some of the solid pieces for the commemorative jewelry, work, or those kind of things. So that's it. Thanks for joining us for the latest SilviaFindings live stream. I'm just at an hour, so I finally managed to get it in on time instead of going over. If you have any questions, please email us. I guess you can send an instant message here on Facebook or wherever you're watching this. Hopefully this is on YouTube eventually. You can always log into the website and send us an email that way. Email me directly, mark@canadafindings.com. You can always call us. The phone number here at the office is not the one on the website. The one on the website is Marble's cell phone, so it's really good to call that one late at night to wake him up. He just has a company phone, that is a cell phone that we use because we travel a lot, we're out at shows and stuff. So the physical office here, where we are here, this place here, the phone number here is 604-998-7989, and again, we're here every day, Monday through Friday. You can always call us. We can help you out in anything, and even if it's not specifically related to our products, I think I've been doing jewelry education, fabrication education for 25 years, so I don't think there's any jewelry creation related question that I haven't already been asked, and and I love the ones that I have never been asked. Those are even better. So you're always welcome to contact us. Please use us as a resource for your jewelry making endeavors. But in the meantime, have safe holidays if you're in the States. Happy Thanksgiving, you guys down there. If you're everywhere else, take care of yourself, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, keep creating, stay happy, and we will see you next week for some more pendants. All right. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.